vegan, Craig Wesco.
When I started college, I figured I'd go to school to learn how to make money, right? Because that's what you do when you go to college. It's so that you can make money. And so I majored in business, and about 2 years in, I figured, you know what? Internet business, that is the business of the future. And this was a while back. This was 17 years ago. So internet business wasn't quite what it was today. It was still kind of an experiment. People didn't know how well the internet was going to take off. And I looked up e-commerce programs on the internet to find what school offers internet business. And to my surprise, the only programs that were offering it were graduate programs, but I was still an undergraduate at the time. So I looked up and I found one program in the entire country was offering an e-commerce major to undergrads. And this was a little school called Northwestern Oklahoma State University. And so I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pack up all my things, I'm gonna transfer, I'm gonna move to Oklahoma, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm gonna study e-commerce. So that's what I did. In this town, it's a little town, there's a super Walmart, there's a university, there's about 4,000 total people, and then it's 3 hours of cornfields on all sides. So what I did, I moved out there, and my dad actually helped me do the drive from Tennessee to Oklahoma. And when I get there, I'm driving. Oklahoma City Airport is like 3 hours away, so it's just straight drive through cornfield, not through cornfields, but with cornfields on both sides. And so I'm doing about 90 miles an hour, and it's maybe 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And all of a sudden, I see in the middle of the road, it's just one lane going this way, one lane going this way. Right in the middle of the road is a cow. And I thought, what is that? Oh no, and I'm doing like 90 miles an hour. So I hit the brakes, I go, "Arr!" I know that sounds more like a seal in heat or something, but we'll pretend that this is me braking, okay? So I'm like, "Arr!" And I'm still going about maybe 45 miles an hour. Kind of sounded like that actually. And so there's no time to stop, and I see that cow, I look her in the eyes, and I'm just like, don't move or you're gonna kill both of us. And so right as I'm zooming past her, I'm still going about 45 miles an hour. She doesn't move an inch. If she had moved, things would have been really bad. So afterwards, I was thinking, I'm like, wow, I've been killing and eating cows my whole life. And here's this cow's opportunity to basically get back at me for all this stuff that I've done to these cows. And instead, she stood fearlessly and didn't move and spared both our lives. So I was thinking at that moment, you know, I need to start sparing your lives and sparing your family's lives, letting you raise children and not killing you to eat you. And I need to stand fearlessly in this belief that you're not just here for me to eat and exploit and whatever society's conditioning me to do. At the time, there weren't a whole lot of resources. Again, this is years ago. And so there weren't a whole lot of resources for being vegan. And so I didn't really understand what vegan was. So I was like, well, I'm just gonna stop eating cows because, well, that's really what it means, what it comes down to. And so I became a vegetarian. And then it took about 5 years before I realized that the dairy industry is the meat industry, that every cow born into the dairy industry is slaughtered. And it takes about 5 to 7 years usually of enslavement, forcible impregnation, having your babies repeatedly taken away, and then you're slaughtered. So being a vegetarian wasn't really much different than just eating animals. And it took me a while to learn that, but once I did, I finally made that connection and I went full vegan. So it took me about 5 years to make that connection. And I just had my 10-year anniversary of being full vegan back in August. And so I also realized same thing with the egg industry. I never knew that whenever an egg hatches and a baby's born, that if it's a male, he's ground up alive the day he's born or suffocated in a garbage bag. I never knew that. But then once I knew that, I realized it's not enough to be vegetarian. I have to also be vegan And then every hen, every chicken that's born into the egg industry ends up slaughtered. So if I'm paying for eggs, if I'm paying for milk, if I'm paying for cheese, if I'm paying for these things, I'm paying for slaughter. And it took me a while to make that connection, but when I think back on it, it all comes back to this cow that was standing in the middle of the road in Oklahoma, surrounded by 3 hours of cornfields. That made me realize animals aren't just here for me to exploit and harm. They're not objects. They're someones. They're someones with families. And they're someones that we should treat not as objects, but as these someones. Take care of. They're friends. They're not food. And so that was how I went vegan. And it was all because of a cow and traffic just like this. Okay.
I like the 10-year tenure.
Thanks.
Let's give Craig another hand for his ice breaker.